Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Welcome home again. We're in Richmond, Virginia, doing the restoration of the Virginia Governor's Mansion, and today we're pouring a concrete slab. We're going to be showing you down in the basement how a team of about a dozen men put 63 yards of concrete into place using a pumper truck. Also, a visit to Agecroft, a fabulous house here in the Richmond area that was transported from medieval England. It's a half-timbered structure, and not only is the house and the interior fabulous, but we've got incredible gardens to show you. So stick around. It's good to have you home again.
Sears presents Bob Vila's Home Again.
Well, pouring the slab in the governor's basement is a pretty high-profile job. Right now we're going to meet Phil Truitt, who's with the company that
Hi,
is...
Bob.
Hi, how are you? Let's get a little bit away from the rig so we can talk about it above the noise. You're pouring about, what, 50 or 60 yards in here today?
Yes, sir.
And now, why do we need such an elaborate contraption, this fabulous pump truck?
Concrete pump delivers concrete down into the basement through what's called a system, concrete system. And we cannot back the truck up to it because there's no way to get in there.
Exactly.
So what we do is we take the boom, go into the basement, connect steel and rubber pipe, and we pump the concrete through it.
And how long is the boom itself?
The boom is 28 meters. It's a 28-meter Rice concrete pump.
That's close to 100 feet.
Yes, it is.
And then you've got how many feet inside?
We've got another 120 feet of line inside.
So the payload is almost over 200 feet away. What kind of a pump is doing that?
It's got 950 PSI on the concrete, and we've got it toned down as far as possible to keep from sending the hose like a jet engine.
I see.
So it's down as low as it'll go.
It's at low speed, but maximum would be 950 pounds per
PSI
square inch.
at 120 yards an hour, which is, you know, mid-range concrete pump.
Great. And this whole thing is a German manufactured product, right?
Yes, it's shipped over from Germany and assembled in the United States.
One last question. What's it cost?
About $320,000, $330,000.
It's a beautiful rig, Phil. Good luck. We'll
Yes,
see you a
sir.
little bit later.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Bob.
How are you?
Fine. How you doing?
I'm glad I found you here because I did want to talk with you about a little bit of the existing conditions of the structure before we talk concrete.
Okay.
I noticed this the other day. This is the original 1813 brick wall, and it starts off right on top of the dirt.
That's right. That's right. And this is pretty much typical of what we found for the foundation as a whole. Of course, this supports the chimney here. But as you can see, there's a lot of rock in here. It gives the soil a lot of density and really good bearing for the type of structure it is.
I'm used to seeing big New England granite slabs and then the brick goes up. But
Yeah.
I guess this has worked.
Yeah.
It's almost
yeah.
200 years
Oh,
old.
it certainly worked.
And
There's
the
no
structure,
question about
especially
that.
in this room, the structure is almost intact. So you can
That's
see
right.
the header from the hearth where it's pegged on the corner here, and all these timbers haven't been hacked away at.
Right.
You've done something here.
Yeah, we've headed that off. We're getting some mechanical units up there. Because we're in the old part of the mansion.
Yeah.
And with a few minor problems, the structure is in excellent condition.
Yeah, I'll say. Now, out here we can see where you've had to put in those new footings. You had to underpin the whole perimeter of the house, didn't you?
That's right, Bob. Primarily the exterior walls, and
This is right under the front door to the house.
this is right under the front door of the house. This continues around in the exterior wall, and then we had two interior walls that we had to
So,
do.
underpinning means that you've dug out underneath the existing
With
wall.
the wall.
And you've poured concrete down, what, 2 or 3 feet?
2 or 3 feet, that's right, and on the average around 3 feet.
And you can't do it continuously, you have to stagger.
You have to do it in segments. We had 3 different segments. If we did number 1, for example, we would hop, skip, and move ourselves around, and then leave the dirt in between those segments that we had poured.
Right. Now, you need this expansion joint material in here also before
This
you pour?
expansion joint, that's right. It's a buffer between here and between the new concrete and the existing partitions. And this gives you an idea as to what the top of your new floor is going to be. The top of this joint is going to be your new finished floor.
Exactly. So we'll have one uniform floor level in here as opposed to the 3 that we used to have.
That's correct. That's correct.
What's the rebar in here for at an angle?
That's called crack control, and that's at all the openings, and it tries to reduce some of the cracks as we go through these openings.
Okay, and here we see where we've got the big old hose coming through from
That's
the
right.
pumper. And this is, I don't like to be around them too much. I've never seen one go, but...
I've seen one go before, and it's not a pretty sight.
Yeah.
And in fact, even when they're intact, they're hard to handle, so you need more than a few men to handle
Right.
them.
That's concrete under pressure.
Concrete
So I
under
guess
pressure.
this is where the guys got their rubber boots on and they left their leather boots up there.
That's right. Leather boots and concrete don't mix.
Boy, listen to that concrete surging through there, huh?
It's coming through there, Bob.
And here's where you can really see where we had the different floor levels.
That's right. We had 3 different floor levels, and this being the highest right here.
Right. Now, what we're going to be pouring on top of is crushed stone down in there, right?
That's correct, yes.
How thick?
About 4 to 6 inches.
And then you've got the poly, the Visqueen as a moisture
barrier, and then we have reinforcement on top of that, wire mesh.
Yeah, the 6x6 number 10 wire
That's
mesh.
right, and that's pulled up as the concrete is poured over it.
Right.
To get into the middle of the pour. So.
When we come back, the basement concrete pour continues at the Virginia Governor's Mansion. All right, now we've got all that concrete just surging in through the pipe. What's the total yardage that's going in here? We better get out of their way.
Close to 60, Bob. In fact, we have more than half of it down now, so
Yeah.
we're approaching 40, 45 yards right now.
So that will ensure a depth of about 6 inches throughout the whole area, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, why do we have these depressions? Right here, you can see all of a sudden it goes down.
Well, these are thickened slabs, footings, and they'll be supporting walls that'll go up to the bottom of the structure. We also have a column that'll come up and catch the underside of this floor.
In a small house construction, you might pour small pads first for the lally columns.
Exactly.
Before you put your slab in. That's what this is for.
Exactly.
Hey, I noticed this under all the joints, you've got like this big saucer.
Yeah, that's a sled, Bob, and the reason for this is to make the hose more manageable and also to keep the coupling from catching on the wire, the reinforcing.
I hear you. So we've got preset positions everywhere where you've got piping coming through.
That's correct.
And what's that for?
This is for our bathroom. These are our waistline and water lines for our bathroom. You'll see some of the rough in for your conduit, and hopefully they're all in the right place and they won't get banged around as you move the hose around.
Now this is a good thing to look at, because the important thing with the reinforcing wire is that it not be buried down at the bottom of the pour.
That's correct. It needs to be up more or less in the middle of the pour, and that's what this gentleman is doing here, and making sure that we have good reinforcing to minimize cracking once the concrete sets up.
Mm-hmm. Now way in the back, they're just starting to put a screed down, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah, they're going to go ahead and float this out and trying to achieve consistency with the expansion joint that you see around here so we can keep the floor nice and level, and they'll check it periodically with the laser.
This expansion joint that's all over the perimeter acts as a top line.
That's correct.
For the pour.
That's correct.
And when you say he's screeding, he's using that long straight edge. That's the screed. Is there a level attached to that, or do you have a laser someplace?
No, we have a laser sitting over in the corner.
Oh, there it is, right over there. Yeah.
They'll check it periodically with their rod and to make sure that we keep consistency to the slab itself.
We better back off. They're starting to pour it right in front of us there.
Right.
We'll be back in a moment with a tour of the spectacular gardens at Agecroft. Stick around. Within the Richmond city limits, Agecroft Hall is a medieval English building that was found in Lancashire back in the 1920s by a wealthy tobacco heir named Thomas C. Williams, Jr. Now, his plan back then was to dismantle it and bring it back home and re-erect it kind of as the anchor of a new real estate development that he wanted to put up on his family farm. He saw his dream of rebuilding Agecroft as his own private family home. However, he died in '29, and the stock market crash kind of put an end to the development plans. However, it is a beautiful house museum, well worth a visit, and we're going to visit with its executive director, Richard Moxley. Come on. Oh, Richard, you're going through a lot of trouble to go through that tiny little door.
Welcome, Bob.
Thank you. How are you? What's the story with that?
This is our wicket gate. It's a defensive type of gate to prevent people from just entering without being welcomed. You have to, as you saw, duck down to get through this gate.
Yeah.
And if you were somebody that you shouldn't be,
if you're already there.
perhaps that person would hit you on the head.
That is very clever. And wicket refers to the shape,
To the shape of
as
the gate.
in playing croquet.
That's right. That's right.
Gotcha. Well, this is a spectacular place. Now tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here.
Well, what you're looking at is one of the most decorative facades of the house here, with this wonderful black and white work here.
What's it called?
It's also called in England magpie work, referring to that bird, that black and white bird in England. And you see these decorative quatrefoils there, and the diapering up above.
In the gable end, that's called diapering?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, what's the point of all this decoration? Is somebody basically showing off?
That's just what they're doing. They're showing off their wealth and their prestige in front of all the world here. To be able to afford something like this required a lot of money.
Because it was so labor-intensive to create.
To be sure.
I mean, indeed, what we're looking at is the surface of it, but it's three-dimensional. There really are timbers that are cut precisely like that.
That's right.
To create those
This is
those
all
shapes.
a post and beam construction like a barn, but very decorative on the outside.
And this is from the late 1500s.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
At least this gable here.
Now, what about the windows? They're so beautiful. That must be a 20-foot expanse of
It is. Look at this wonderful 20-foot expanse of leaded glass windows. We have photos documenting that this window came over all in one piece with the glass in place without breaking one pane of glass, so goes the legend.
In the 1920s. So
That's
they
correct.
created the whole thing.
That's right.
And hoisted it into the hold of a freighter and brought it all the way home to Virginia.
Yeah.
It's an exquisite thing.
Isn't it wonderful?
Now, the interior of the house is set up primarily as a museum these days, right?
That's
With
right.
an enormous collection of some very priceless Elizabethan and Jacobean furnishings. I understand that there's a bed here that they'd love to have back home in England.
Well, that's right. We have a wonderful painted bed from the late 16th century with its original paint on the bed. We've had it analyzed, and in fact, there's a number of coats of paint on it, but at the bottom is that original 16th century paint.
Would that have been very out of the ordinary to have a decorated, colored, polychrome bed like this?
It is. It is very unusual. There's few examples in the world today, especially with their original paint. Most of the beds you see are rather plain with just dark oak.
And there's also a collection of tapestries?
There is. We have a wonderful collection of tapestries, varied. One of the most prominent ones that you'll see in our great hall is the so-called Mortlake tapestry from the Mortlake factories. And that tapestry features the wolf hunt. And you can see in that tapestry the wonderful action of the dogs chasing the wolf and the hunter about to spear that dog and kill it. And the wonderful colors come out in that tapestry, the reds and the blues and so on.
Now, this is all well and good, but it was built as a family home, and back in the 30s when they were living in it, how did they live? Didn't they have some comfortable rooms, or was everything just a display?
Yeah, there were wonderful, comfortable rooms. Probably the most comfortable and enjoyable room would have been the library. The library is an expansive room, probably about 30 by 50 feet. In fact, you can see where we're standing the extent of the library here, extending the entire length of this wing here.
So this whole wing is all one room?
That's right. It's all one room, a wonderful library, richly paneled inside. The dominating feature of that room is the so-called refectory table, about 16 feet long. It's a magnificent inlaid object with carved lions at its feet.
And this, of course, was before television, so thousands of books.
That's right. Wonderful books that Mr. Williams both collected and inherited from his father and his grandfather.
Now, Richard, could we take a quick look at some of the gardens?
Sure. Let's take a look. We're walking down this very formal allée of little leaf lindens or lime trees. You can see they have a rather grotesque shape, and that's the result of this pollarding, that is a form of pruning.
Now, we're here in April, so they haven't leafed out yet, but the objective is to create squares or geometric shapes.
That's right, and it'll result in a lush green canopy in the summer.
Now, who was the landscape architect
It
here?
was Charles Gillette, a very prominent landscape architect in Richmond, and you can see he's created a masterpiece here.
Oh, this is fabulous. Now, what was his inspiration for the design of this garden?
This was inspired by the Pond Garden at Hampton Court. That was Henry VIII's palatial garden.
Henry VIII's garden. How many tulip bulbs in here?
We plant 5,000 tulip bulbs each year here.
Is there a plan in terms of the colors and how you mix them up?
Sure, the gardener takes great pains to combine one next to the other, and the blooming sequence as well.
He's got the whole, kind of the whole color scale here.
He is. There's
Anything
a
you can
tulip
imagine.
here for everybody.
I love these stronger colored ones. These, and don't you call these parrot tulips?
These are the black parrots, and they'll turn a little bit blacker, but they're a very striking tulip.
Yeah, and when the sun hits them, they're amazing. 5,000 bulbs. Wow, that's a lot of work. And then you pull them out, right? And
That's
put in,
right.
what, annuals for the summer?
That's right. In a few weeks, we'll be pulling them all out and replanting this bed.
Now, there's also an herb garden, I understand.
We have an Elizabethan herb garden filled with herbs of the period, so let's take a look at that.
This is quite some gate.
Isn't that wonderful wrought iron work?
Now this is a very orderly spot.
It is. We have a series of gardens here, a very formal knot garden with vegetables patterned here and herbs in decorative design.
But complete bilateral symmetry everywhere you look.
That's right, and you'll see this garden here is a mirror reflection of itself.
Now, what about the plant collection here?
Well, we have a lot of different plants, and this garden features John Tredescant the Younger, an English botanist that came here to Virginia in the 1630s to collect plants and take them back to England. And today we celebrate the plants that he collected not only in Virginia, but Central and South America as well.
Okay.
So this is a collection of different species of plants.
So it's not just herbs, but medicinal plants, flowers,
It's
vegetables.
a mixture of a lot of different types of plants, known and enjoyed by the English during the 1630s.
I love symmetrical gardens, so this is right up my alley. It's a little bit early for it still, isn't it?
It is. It has a ways to go, but you can see, rather than being a spectacular garden, it is a garden of a collection, of a collector.
And it's a garden room that's appropriate to the estate, because again, it's from the 16th or 17th, did you say?
That's 17th century.
17th century. And what's this unusual orange kind of upside down plant?
That's called a fritillaria. It's in the lily family, and it's native to Persia, but Tredescant knew about that plant and did collect it.
It's not a fragrant plant, is it?
No, it isn't. It has a unique skunk-like smell to it.
Excellent.
So you don't want to plant too many in your garden.
Now, once again, this garden room features a view of the river, a wonderful way to end the tour.
Isn't it? These rooms here, these garden rooms, open up to this wonderful view across the James River. It's really spectacular. We're happy to have that view.
Thanks very much, Richard.
Sure, glad you came.
Next, we have a progress report on the North Addition at the Executive Mansion in Richmond, Virginia. Sam Daniels is with me now. He's the general contractor on the job, and we're coming out the north side of the house, right?
Yeah, well, this is the north portico.
The north portico, with beautiful, beautiful, simple columns. Now, have they started stripping paint off of here?
Well, actually, we haven't started stripping any paint yet. This is peeling on its own, but because of the layers of lead paint that are here, this entire portico will be stripped down to bare wood and then repainted totally.
And obviously, that's all being done by professionals, and everything's being disposed of professionally,
properly,
right?
yes. And we're using chemical strip on the first pass and then sanding after that.
And this little garden is known as the Camellia Garden?
That's right. This is Camellia Garden. It's a little bit in a state of disrepair. This year it didn't get the attention it normally does since we were here and the first family wasn't occupying.
Right. But you know, it's a beautiful little facade. It's Palladian. It's so simple and ordered. But it's being altered by an addition, right?
That's right. We're going to add an addition on the northeast corner. It mirrors the one that was built on the southeast corner in the 50s. And at that time, I'm sure the only reason that we didn't build an addition on this side is because it would have caused this roadway to be relocated.
Yeah, we're standing on a little road that rings around the mansion.
It was the only way to get back to the carriage house.
And we are on a hilltop in downtown Richmond, because look at the office buildings right behind us.
Yes.
So describe the addition that's going in here. What's the purpose?
The addition is about 12 by 20 feet. It's on 3 levels. On the lower level, that's the service level. That'll be a service entrance for the food coming into the kitchen. It's also the handicap entrance for the building. There'll be an elevator on the lower level. We'll achieve getting here totally by grade, no steps, no ramps.
Right.
And in addition to the elevator, there is the service level storage area for the food and so forth. On the historic level, we have the elevator, a hallway, and that's where the handicap restroom facility is.
Right, and then on the upper level, it's private quarters.
Private quarters, and that's where the first family's private kitchen is located.
Well, it'll be fun to watch it go up.
Yes,
Thanks, Sam. We're running short on time. Come home again next time. We're going to be looking at the carriage house and some of the work that's taking place there. Also, another ancient house by the same architect, Mr. Paris, that we're going to tour right in the same part of downtown Richmond. Till then, I'm Bob Vila. It's great to have you home again. For lots of information and resources for your home improvement project, check out my website at bobvila.com.